We begin with escalating attacks in the Middle East. The central Iranian city of Isfahan was bombed overnight, likely by the United States. President Trump posted this video of the attack on social media. Now, Isfahan is one of the 3 sites attacked by the U.S. military last year, and it's likely home to some of the country's highly enriched uranium. Despite the continued strikes, the White House says negotiations are going well.
Despite all of the public posturing you hear from the regime and false reporting, talks are continuing and going well. What is said publicly is, of course, much different than what's being communicated to us privately. The mission will continue until the objectives are achieved, and that 4 to 6 week timeline does remain right now.
Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says more than half of the goals of the Iran war have now been achieved, but he would not put a timeline on when the operation might end. Netanyahu would also not say whether the U.S. would send troops to try and take Karg Island. That's a key location for Iran's energy exports. Yesterday, hundreds of U.S. special forces arrived in the region. Sources tell CBS News their operations could include taking oil from the island. And you just got a glimpse of this. Gas has risen to more than $4 a gallon for the first time since the summer of 2022. The national average is now $4.02 per gallon, which is up more than $1 per gallon since before the war began. The fighting in the Middle East, as you well know, has sent oil costs surging. On Monday, Brent crude rose to $115 a barrel, and diesel prices have risen to $5.45 a gallon. Keep in mind, it was $3.76 about a month ago. We've got team coverage on all these angles for you this morning. Michael George is here in studio to explain why Karg Island is essential to Iran. Elizabeth Palmer is tracking the fighting from our London bureau. But let's begin with CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi. Olivia, good morning to you. What are we learning from the White House when it comes to potential boots on the ground and the status of the operation so far?
Well, good morning to you, Errol. The White House is still expressing confidence that they are on their timeline, that 4 to 6 week timeline that they say they are tracking in order to end the war in Iran, to complete their mission inside of Iran, striking various different striking positions inside the country. The White House is also saying, as far as the troops that have arrived there, they're not saying exactly what they're there for. As you mentioned in your intro, could be a potential expedition to take Karg Island. That is the crucial island inside the Strait of Hormuz in the Persian Gulf there that has access to a lot of Iran's oil and gas infrastructure. But still, the White House is not saying exactly what those troops would be used for, instead saying that they're giving the president optional maximum ability for what he would want to do with troops in the region. Take a listen to what Caroline Levitt told our Ed O'Keefe yesterday during the press briefing when he asked her, you know, Americans at home are seeing an exponential amount of troops going to the region. Why is this and what should they think? Take a listen to what she said here.
Americans sitting at home hearing him saying, I want to talk, but I keep seeing them send troops to that region. What are they to make of what's going on?
There's 2 tracks here. The president has always said that diplomacy is his #1 option and priority. So if there's ever a chance for a deal, again, the president is open to listening, but it does not deter him from focusing on the military objectives that he set out 30 days ago and that our military is continuing to achieve day by day.
Now, we are going to hear from Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth later today around 8 a.m. He's giving a press briefing where he's going to update us on how the expedition is going, perhaps the timeline of it, why there's more troops in the region, and ultimately what is the goal in reopening the Strait of Hormuz. If you'll remember, that's that choke point that is still not allowing any oil to flow through, any ships to go through at this moment. So continues to be a very difficult situation for tankers in the region. We'll be interested to hear what he has to say about the timeline, given that we are on week 4, turning into week 5 now of this conflict.
Yeah, let's get the latest on all of that now. Olivia in our DC bureau, thank you. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Liz Palmer is in our London bureau. Liz, good morning. As Olivia mentioned, we're now in the 5th week of this conflict. So what kind of physical fighting are we seeing out of the region this morning?
Well, it's all coming from the skies. The United States hit the central Iranian city of Isfahan early on Tuesday. That's the video that President Trump posted on Truth Social. Satellite pictures show that they hit a military installation just south of the city. It included an ammunition depot and possibly weapons manufacturing installations. But there were attacks across the country on many areas, including major cities like Tabriz and Tehran. Iranian media are saying that there was an attack on a residential building in a suburb of the capital that killed 11 people. And contacts of mine sent video of at least 2 attacks that they shot from their balcony on the outskirts of the city. There were then widespread power failures across Tehran, but the electricity company did manage to get things going again in a couple of hours. Now, in the Gulf, a fully loaded Kuwaiti oil tanker was attacked by an Iranian drone in port in Dubai. It did catch fire. A lot of the hull was destroyed, but the crew managed to put the fire out before it ignited the main oil cargo, which is a very good thing because that could have caused a real environmental disaster.
We just mentioned the jump in the U.S. to gasoline being above $4 a gallon. Meanwhile, Iran's chokehold over the Strait of Hormuz continues to have major global implications. Help our viewers understand how Iran is able to hold such a tight grip on the strait.
Well, you look at a map, just look at Google Maps, and you'll see the Persian Gulf sort of comes down and does this curve and narrows before it widens again into the Gulf of Oman. And that little narrow point, 24 miles wide. I mean, you could practically swim it. A fifth of the world's oil supply goes through there, and the Iranians control that northern shore for hundreds of miles. The Revolutionary Guard have armed it up very well over the years with a specific target of being able to defend it in the event of an attack by the United States. So they have hundreds of armed speedboats, they have missile batteries, they have sea mines and drones and midget submarines. Really small scale. And so they can harass tankers going through that narrow point. They can attach mines. They can lay mines in the strait. And all shipping insurers need to know is that there's a danger, and they just shut it down. They will not insure ships to go through. And so, in effect, this is Iran waging guerrilla warfare on the water. And it's very effective because minimal outlay by them, hard to catch and spot from the air, and they can basically stop that 20% of the world's oil moving to market.
All right, Elizabeth Palmer in London. Thank you, Liz.